Welcome to this edition of the Million Dollar Mastermind podcast. This is where we pick the brains of high achievers from all walks of life and get their hard-earned, real-world insights on winning. I'm your host, Larry Weidel. Talk about the fact that you don't need to see people.
I can see you right now. I've never seen you in price. We see each other just fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, even without that, even with the audio, I've had people in the past, we've talked on conference calls,
right,
for years, like once a week, and where their income has gone from 100,000 to over 1 million.
Right.
And one time they were here in Palm Beach. We went out to dinner and he said, this is only the second time I've ever seen you in person.
Right.
But he's like a brother to me, he's like
100%. I would say most of my best friends, most of my best friends I've never met in person, because they're top performing entrepreneurs that would never destroy their family life for entrepreneur life. And then I've met most of them post-COVID. So when COVID started, so most of them and that doesn't, again, winning conquers doubt. So most people are doubting they can make friendships in a virtual world. I just ignore that world. I was talking to one of my buddies, who's a 153 IQ. Again, 140's genius. He's a true genius. He's a war hero, does high level CIA stuff. So these were his words, not mine, but it made sense. So he's like, most people are sheep, and then entrepreneurs are sheepdogs. So I'm a high fact finder, and I looked it up, and so Science Daily did a big article. 2 primary roles of sheepdogs, only 2. There's only 2. So replace the word sheepdog with entrepreneur, okay? Just replace sheepdog. Okay. So sheepdogs, only 2 roles scientifically proven that they do. 1, keep the sheep in line. 2, push them forward. You don't talk to the sheep. You don't hang out with the sheep. You ignore. Now, usually you do marry a sheep. Usually marry a stabilizing human, thank God. But no. And then my wife tells me 3 words, only 3 words before every parent-teacher conference. Our sons are 10 and 8, and they're half me, half my wife. So they're definitely entrepreneurial thinking with her warmth. So my wife only tells me 3 words. Don't say anything. So I keep my mouth shut the entire parent-teacher conference, because anything I say in that will not be received well. Yep.
Now, when you, how do you find these people that you're talking to? Their clients, their friends from these entrepreneurial groups? Talk about that, and how do you select them? And obviously, you're not going.
I love it.
Yeah, and so anyway, that's a launch point.
I love it. You would like the BrEpic Life book, because it's answer, and then the chapter 2 is the perfection of patterns. So if you really want answers, okay. Yeah. So my favorite pattern in my strange alien brain is having the right mindset creates the right network and creates right opportunities. So right mindset creates right network, creates right opportunities. So I haven't done anything outbound in years. I'm very grateful your team reached out to me. I'm very thankful for that. And then hosts want to interview me first, and then they want to interview all PR partners, because only partner with people like us. Otherwise, I get bored. Okay, so it never stops. It just keeps creating endless abundance. But so what does the right mindset mean to attract the right network? We only partner with visionaries who live in abundance and who look at things as investments, not costs. So only visionaries, not business owners, not consultants, not human employees, visionaries who live in abundance. There's no scarcity. No, only abundance. And there's no what do you cost or charge. There's no nickel and diming. That no, no, no. Anyone who asks, what do you cost or charge? I'll never talk to that person again because they're living in scarcity and they're living in cost world, and cost world hang out with cost world people. And then abundance visionary investment people hang out with abundance visionary investment. Okay. So that's the background with that. And then, so I do probably 10 intros a day between visionary to visionary. Many are through PR.
Describe that now. Describe that.
Yeah, you have a really interesting strategy brain, and you want the very simplified answer, which I appreciate that. So I always think it's funny with people have very long intros about how great this person is. So my intros are I asked your team for if you had taken the Kolbe Kolbe that test. They didn't send me your score, but so my intros are like 3393 meets 3393. So it's a visionary who meeting a visionary. And then if they're in like strategic coach or abundance 360 or genius network or entrepreneurs organization, I'll put a line of that about that as well. But like my intros are like 8 words. and then people do what they want with it. But it's a lot of fun. So I did, like 10 intros a day, and then I get, I don't know, 2 or 3. So it's like endlessly fascinating to do that because like there's nothing outbound, there's no marketing. I mean, I guess there is,
but you do an intro. Is this an intro for a podcast, for a show? Are you getting people together and getting them connected? Or what? That's a lot of intros.
Oh no! Well, it's the purpose of my life. So for me,
but you got it down to a science, is what I'm saying. And so
if that's, I appreciate you saying that. I don't look at it like that. I just look at it like I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I was meant to be this person. But the I guess it's from like a logical approach. But many are to media opportunities. Many are just like, oh, hey, this person, what happened to, oh yeah. So I was talking to basically someone today that has one of the largest companies in Pakistan, and he's looking to bring more companies into Pakistan. And so I have a good friend, and I was on his show, who's a very high quick start in Kolbe, and he knows probably 1,000 high performing Pakistanis. So I just introduced them, and all it said was greatness awaits. And then they take it from there because they're visionaries. They'll know what to say from there. So there's no real context. And that's interesting that you bring it up. You must be high on context in Strength Finders, whether or not you've taken them. I'm very low in it, very low, and very low in input. I'm like, just here's the intro. Do what you want. Go, figure it out. I don't need any context. Don't need to learn, like, in terms of that. Like, I want to just like, here's the answer. Go ahead and do it. And the very simplest way that I know how to do that is someone's Kolbe score, Kolbe. It's not your personality. I don't care what your personality is. I want to know if you're actually going to do something, how your brain takes action. It's called the A index. It takes 20 minutes. It's been around for 40 years. In 6 years as an entrepreneur, almost, my firms have partnered with one person that I know of, one under a 7 quick start, only one. 10 is the highest. So I've essentially just stopped talking to lower quick starts. I'll talk to them once, but I'm all action. And then it's high quick start meets high quick start. That's basically the simplest way.
But now, here's okay. You can enlighten me.
Okay.
I have always had a bad results from scoring things, trying to take a test for this, take a test for that. It's kind of like, what I found is life is so complex, and
not mine.
and yes, yours too. I mean, like, life is going to throw things at you all the time, and you have to think on your feet, and
right,
and conversations, what I'm saying? just to get through a conversation, but in dealing with your kids, they complicate your life tremendously. So the thing is that
to get the outcome you want, for you to stay on track. It's like driving
Mhm.
down the highway and there's always something going on the road, an accident or construction or emergency or
Mhm.
something. And so usually not that overwhelming, but sometimes it is overwhelming. You have to,
Mhm.
think. And so what would you, tell me what you've got, how you got onto these scorings. Like I don't know of anyone who's talked about the IQ, other people's IQ as much, and this Kolbe score as much as you. And so talk about how you got on that and why you found that to be reliable and a great guide.
Yes, because I talk to low quick starts that don't do anything, and then I talk to high quick starts that do. So I mean, most of my days talking to high quick start, low follow through people. And when you talk to them over and over, and they're the ones that actually do something, then I just want the answer. And one of the chapters in the book is Clear the Mechanism. It's from a Kevin Costner movie, and he's a pitcher for the Detroit Tigers. And before every game at the first inning, before the inning, he says, clear the mechanism, and everything except the catcher's mitt and the batter goes dark, totally opaque. And so he's totally focused on the glove and the batter. So I'm totally focused on the glove and the batter, which is my family and network. So again, most of the people I talk to, they're all over the place. I'm not. I'm ultra focused. And what I have found is, from talking to people over and over and over and over, is the simplest way of identifying that is the Kolbe. I mean, that's just what it is.
Now, do you send people, how would someone implement that into their life, into their business?
Everything.
Into their approach.
Everything. 100%. Everything. So again, literally, you would like the book. answer. Yeah, it's just answers. But like, this is literally why I wrote it, because people want this. They don't know how to do it. So there's
Right.
there's 30 answers. But yeah, so usually people like us marry stabilizing humans. You not always. So so like, think in Kolbe world, the typical visionary, high quick start, low follow through person, they would marry, typically, not always, but typically they would marry a low quick start, high follow through person. So like, think social worker, school teacher. My wife's a pediatrician, an engineer, a lawyer. Someone who can like make sure you pick your kids up at school. Okay, so that, something like that. And then in work, visionary, they want to be idea, and if they don't have a team of low quick start, high follow through people, nothing will get done. Imagine if the world was all visionaries. It'd be complete anarchy and chaos. Very few people are visionaries on a global scale. They're just not. That's why most people are sheep. Entrepreneurs are sheepdogs.
And in terms of, let's just say, working with your kids, with your kids and helping them.
Yeah, they've already Kolbe'd. They're both 9 quick start, 2 follow throughs. So they're 10 and 8. And all we do is talk about people's Kolbe and the joys of being an entrepreneur. So they can, and then again, I don't say anything at parent teacher conferences because that would go horribly wrong. So they learn to read and write and all that stuff. And, my wife's a doctor. She's very smart. I did well in college, relatively well. So I guess that type of brain. And I'm guessing the kids will go to college. And if they don't, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. And the greatest joy of being an entrepreneur is that the kids get to see this world even exists. Most people don't have cousins like yours, but you got to see that this world exists. Most people don't have that. So that's the greatest joy of being an entrepreneur, is that they see that this exists and then they can do whatever they want with it.
Yeah. And talking to people who can explain things in the positive light, you get people who look at the same situation and it's all doom and gloom. Or I used to say I had 2 uplines in my company. One, when I came to a fork in the road, I would call and get their opinion. I described the situation completely similarly to both of them. And if one of them was for it and the other one was against it, I knew it. And if I was for it, I knew I was on the right track, because one of the guys could always see what was going to go wrong.
Yeah, I ignore those people.
And, the other guy could always see the positive. Like, one guy could say, you won the lottery, but congratulations, Larry. But, you're going to have a lot of people coming after you now. And you got to be careful for this.
Yeah, that's a low quick start, high follow through. That's what they are in Kolbe. Right. I ignore those people. That's what I'm saying.
Why has this been approach? Why is it so rewarding for you from a family standpoint?
Oh, well, that's everything. So I talk to 1 to 2 entrepreneurs every single week that have let entrepreneur life destroy their family life. That's a bad idea. Activate, maximize, achieve, not doing that. My father died when I was 13. I know what it's like not to have a dad around. I would never do that to my children. They're 8 and 10. And I see them more than before COVID. I saw my children more than any dad I've ever met. Now I spend more time with them. So, I mean, I don't even understand why you would have children. Like, people always ask, they're like, oh, what advice do you have? I'm like, well, in terms of entrepreneurship, I'm like, well, if you're a dad, be a dad. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I go, well, if you're a parent, be a parent, actually be in your children's lives. And I just don't understand why you would let entrepreneur life destroy your family life. It makes no sense to me. So I have 2 offices. This is my living room office. And then when it's nice, I have a backyard office. Rather be in my house with my children than anywhere else.
How does the idea of traveling and seeing the world in person and meeting some of these people, like you said, there's people in Pakistan, you're talking to people around the world. Any of that, any appeal to you?
No.
And why would you say that?
Because I'd rather be at home with my family.
No, but take your family with, take your family with, you got people who could take you around, introduce you, take you to some of the best places in the world, and as a broadening type thing.
I would rather just go with my family. We go on family trips all the time.
Okay, so talk about that. And what's the purpose of that? To give them the exposures, the kids the exposures?
Yeah, I'm in these entrepreneur groups. I'm very thankful for that. And a lot of folks like, oh, hey, I had a 9-figure exit and all that. And that's fine. That's great. Made the Inc. 5,000 list. Okay, great. I'm thankful. And then they're like, well, what was the best part of last year for you? I'm like, well, I took my sons on a baseball trip around the Midwest. We went to 5 baseball games in 5 different cities in 5 days. That was by far the best part of last year for me. Again, this is being a journalist. You don't become a journalist for all that material stuff. That is not why you do it. And so having that foundation, and again, losing my dad when I was 13, I understand how important that is. And we have boys, so it's important for a boy to have their dad around. And so that's everything to me. All this other stuff is fine, but without that, people are like, oh, what do you worry about with your business? I go, nothing. And they're like, well, what do you worry about? I go, anything happened to my wife, anything happening to her. That's what I actually worry about.
Thanks for listening to the Million Dollar Mastermind. If you felt there were any valuable takeaways from this episode, please take a minute and leave us a 5-star review. Your feedback is important and really helps us get the word out to a wider audience. Remember, we have a valuable webinar that is absolutely free. Register for it right now at weidelonwinning.com. Thanks for listening.